Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Tea and Sweets with Miss J. Of course, you guys know I am your hostess with the mostest, Miss J, aka Miss Simone Jackson, here to bring you guys another great episode of Tea and Sweets. You guys know we are a celebrity-based podcast show, always bringing you guys the great interviews. Of course, we have another guest here today. As always, we never disappoint on our guest. He is an actor, and I am super excited to be talking with him because he was raised between England and Australia. We don't, get international guests, so I'm very excited to be talking with him today. Everyone, give a warm welcome to Miss Laurence Fuller. Hi, Laurence.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi. I'm doing great. Great.
Good.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. Thank you for coming on here. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So you and I are going to go. Yeah, I really appreciate that. So we're going to go ahead and start off the first question for you, Mr. Laurence. Can you tell us what began your passion for acting?
Well, it was an early connection to cinema, for sure. And I grew up in the art world. My mom is a painter, and my dad was an art critic, and I grew up around the arts. There was filmmakers, writers, artists, everywhere. Everyone was in the arts in some capacity. And I gravitated mostly to cinema and performing, and I guess I wanted to tell stories and live out those adventures. And it was a combination of that and meeting a couple really good drama teachers in my high school, in my younger years, from when like doing the Australian Theatre for Young People in Sydney, which is a great program as a part of the Sydney Theatre Company that I think Kate Blanchett's now the artistic director of. But at the time, I was, I think I was about 9 or 10 when I started there. And that sort of kicked off my passion for theatre. And we did, sort of threw together productions of Shakespeare and devised experimental pieces. And I went to this college called Narrabundah College, which specialized in the arts, particularly the theatre program under Peter Wilkins and Ernie Glass was really excellent, well known in Australia at that time. And I made it clear to them, I want to go to drama school after I finished high school. So I don't really care about many of these other subjects. I just want to do drama, and I want to do that as much as possible. And so they allowed me to do my final years of high school, basically just in the theater program. And then when I came out, I auditioned for the drama schools, like for a couple years. I wanted to go to one of the top ones. And eventually I got into Bristol Old Vic, which is perfect because, Daniel Day-Lewis is my favorite actor.
Mine too.
Right.
Sorry, I had to agree. I am a huge Daniel Day-Lewis fan over here, so I had to agree.
Well, you have great taste.
Thank you. Thank you.
A very, just a fine gentleman all round, in the way he carries himself, and the way he goes about his art and the choices he makes in the films he does, and just how particular he is about what he wants to do, I think is all incredibly admirable and really holds himself to the highest standards in our profession. And so luckily I got into the same drama school that he got into, and I suppose got some of the same foundation in teaching that he did, which was in itself a dream come true.
Right.
And that got me going on my professional journey when I graduated from there, and I went into the British theatre world before I got into film.
That is incredible. I have to say, that is amazing. I have to say, I love everything about Daniel Day-Lewis as an actor. Just one of those actors that can just do any role just flawlessly. I mean, there isn't any movie that he's been in that I just haven't just loved him in. So I think that is incredible. Just to go on just a little bit more, what roles do you gravitate yourself to as an actor?
Well, I suppose coming from that classical tradition of Shakespeare, it's I still hold on to romantic notions of characters with sort of depth and grit and honesty, emotional honesty, and there's, I guess, characters that require some kind of transformation during the character arc, or characters that are quite different from myself. Or today I auditioned for, it was like a Hungarian gangster in a TV show.
Ooh.
And a few days, before it there was like some kind of elf for a new big Game of Thrones-esque TV show, and a Muay Thai fighter and another thing. So it's great to be able to participate in a big range of things. But ultimately, I would say the goal is the leading man, the biopics of interesting people throughout history, or inspired by those interesting people, like P.T. Anderson, that has these really interesting take on historical figures, where he just sort of is loosely inspired by these, like the early oil men, or I'm trying to like dance around the person in particular, but the cult figure that inspired the master, things like that was, and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix just knocked that out of the park.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Characters like that just stick in my mind for years after I see a film like that. So, in a dream world, it would be something like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great taste. Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman, also one of my few favorite actors. So yeah, awesome taste there. Just to go on, Laurence, what would you consider to be your big dream role? Your big dream role, what would it be?
Well, kind of along those lines. I'm working on this project at the moment. I'm on the fourth draft of this screenplay about my late father, who was the art critic Peter Fuller. And he was just such a controversial figure in the art world in England. And he lived this fascinating life. And it really it was at the heart of the art world in England. And his position in it was to stir things up and to be this big character and to get people talking and to be the instigator of, I guess, a drama played out on the stage of the British art world. And so that character in particular is something I'm looking at right now. That would be a dream for me to get going. Like I said, I'm on the fourth draft of it, and this draft is the one I want to take into development. So it's early days, but it's, that's the dream role right now.
Awesome. Amazing. I think that's incredible. I really do. And I really hope that, aspires well. I would definitely love to see how that will be in the big screen. So I definitely hope that works out. Going on to number 4, you've actually had the opportunity to learn and act along with some amazing actors. Can you tell us what that experience, is like for you to be able to do that?
To act alongside some great actors?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, the first sort of veteran actor that I worked with in film, I was on my first film in Los Angeles, it was Apostle Peter and the Last Supper. It's a Pure Flix film. It was a big Christian movie. I guess it's a big thing here in America to make those movies, and it was, at the time especially, it was honored to be a part of it, to be invited to be a part of it. And I got to learn from Robert Loggia, who was Oscar-nominated actor.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting. Yeah.
That's amazing.
A veteran actor who's got I don't know how many films under his belt, maybe
Right.
100 or something, you know. Um, so just to watch how sort of cool and relaxed he was about going about his business. It was, as a young actor, he was very passionate and, you know, wanted to get it right. And then just watching him go about it all, he was so sort of at ease with the entire process. You know, that just put me at ease
Right.
as well. And to see him kind of work it out as he was going along. And I remember at one point, you know, the director just asked him to, I can't remember what, but just to really connect with his memory of telling the story to Apostle Peter, and he just started weeping out of nowhere, and it was like, wow, that's all it kind of took for him to get to that emotional place. And he was so sensitive. And his older age, he was 83 when he shot the movie, and that was his last role. So that was very interesting. And getting to also now to, I've since worked with Sally Kirkland, who on a film called Paint It Red, and she was just, you know, this dame of the old school method acting, actor studio world, telling me about how she would do the scenes with De Niro at the Actors Studio, directed by Lee Strasberg, and De Niro, the young De Niro, would be tearing apart the scenery, and he would be so passionate, and Lee Strasberg would be just pushing them to go to deeper places within themselves. And just hearing those stories just was such an inspiration on set, you know. And then very similar to that, actually, someone who is also very connected to Mr. De Niro was Barry Primus. I just did a gangster movie with Barry called Five Families that we shot the first 10 minutes, kind of like a Whiplash deal. We shot the first 10 minutes, and now they are developing a feature out of that. The short did very well at film festivals, and Barry's connection to this particular story and this kind of material has really moved this project along. The project is called Five Families, and Barry Primus plays my grandfather. Barry Primus has been connected with that whole actor studio world since the beginning, and has actually directed Robert De Niro in a film, and been in a number of films with Robert De Niro because of their relationship and their work at the Actors Studio. And yeah, so to be on set with him and acting opposite him and seeing how he was just constantly asking questions of the director, like, what about this? And making contributions into, I guess he'd done a lot of gangster films, and
right.
yeah, had you know, grown up in that sort of rough area, and so wanted it to be really authentic, and so was constantly making his own contributions. Actually, you know, it wouldn't go that way. It would be like this, or, you know, it would, this is how these guys operate. This is the sort of things that they say. And to see him sort of push that authenticity and to really inquire into the script and into what the director's vision was for the piece, that was brilliant to learn from. Again, you know, I guess I learned from that. You know, it's good to ask questions and to be a very active participant in your role with the director.
Yeah.
So I guess those are three veterans I got to work with recently. I mean, on my first film ever, it was an Australian movie called Possessions, and I got to work with Max Cullen, who was another veteran, who's worked with Baz Luhrmann and is basically a veteran in the Australian film world. And that was an interesting one. It was another father figure on that set. He played this art dealer who was sort of pulling off this con, and you know, Max Cullen, artist as well. So he was a sculptor. He'd been involved in the art world, and he was playing an art dealer in this film. And so I guess it was very interesting to see how he sort of tied those things together.
Yeah.
And I suppose with all of these people, what was interesting to see was how they were able to tie these stories of their own life into the characters as well. and what of their own interesting and broad lives as people inform their work as actors and as artists.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'll stop talking now.
No, I'm absorbed. I'm like completely absorbed in everything that you're saying. I'm loving it. So I was like, don't even, like, you're great. I'm just like, oh my gosh, he's seen and experienced so much. I'm just like loving it. So you are so good.
Good.
I do want to make sure my audience follows you and your work. So where are you on social media?
On Twitter, I'm at Laurence Fuller, LaurenceFuller, and same on Instagram, at Laurence Fuller. Yeah, I'm active on both. I'm active on both of those platforms.
Okay, good. Everyone, I'll make sure you're listening in to the Sweet audience. You guys know, you guys never steered me wrong. Make sure you guys follow Laurence Fuller because he is definitely going to be an actor to watch for sure. So, just going on a little bit more, Laurence, can you tell, because you have tons and tons of theater work, what has been your favorite theater role so far and why?
Yeah, theater work was definitely my beginning and served as the foundations for my work in film. I haven't done too much theater work since I've been in America. I guess my focus has mainly been on film, and I do want to do some more theater and work with, you know, an institution like the Geffen or something like that. And but my main theater years were in England, and my favorite role out there was Madness in Valencia, directed by Simon Evans, incredibly talented young theater director that works a lot with the Donmar. In that, since he's worked with sort of Jude Law and I think Orlando Bloom, and
wow.
you know, is working at some of the top theater shows in the West End right now. But we started off in this small little play at the back of this theater pub that's sort of known for offbeat fringe shows called the White Bear in South London. And the play was called Madness in Valencia. And we took this Spanish Golden Age play by Luca de Vega that was just so rarely performed in English. It's almost never done. But Simon discovered it and he wanted to do something new with it, and he wanted to do a classical piece that just in a way that had just never been done before. And so we took this English translation of this piece and just made it the most mad kind of celebration of this story, which was a love story essentially set in an insane asylum. And it's about how love drives people crazy. And really the only really crazy person was the asylum keeper. Mm-hmm. And that was played by me. And so I got to go very big with the character and make lots of strange and wild choices and start improvising and literally climbing all over the set. And during the intermission, the director was just like, okay. I remember on opening night, there was been so much improvisation and stuff throughout the rehearsal process that on opening night, Simon, the director, came to me before we went up and was like, hey, during intermission, I just want you to go out and improvise with the audience. Okay, have fun. I was like, what?
He's okay, have fun. Oh my goodness. That's
yep.
One way to put it. Okay, have fun. Oh no.
That's right. That's right. He threw down the gauntlet. But that set the tone for the rest of the run. And then that show was so wild and so free and fun that we ended up getting a Time Out critic to come in and see, because she'd heard about it. And she gave us such a great write-up that just from that write-up, we got a transfer to the West End, to Trafalgar Studios. And we got a short run at Trafalgar Studios, which sort of served as a launching pad for a lot of careers, definitely Simon in the West End, and it enabled me to come out here to LA and get traction with the film world out here. Just people
Yeah.
hearing about it, the reviews that we got. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a great time in my life. One of the best experiences working with a group of people I've ever had. So,
That's
that was Madness
awesome.
in Valencia, directed by Simon Evans. Yeah.
I love that. That sounds incredible. And it's good that we were able to improvise and think on your feet, even though you just got thrown on the gauntlet. So that's good.
Yeah.
um, yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm going on just to the last few questions here, Lawrence. What goals do you hope to one day accomplish as an actor?
I would say what goals I hope to accomplish. I
Yeah.
hope to keep working with, really passionate directors, passionate people telling stories that are full of humanitarian stories, so that are full of, you know, uh, human drama, human grit,
Yeah.
the human story, humanity sort of laid bare and out there on the screen. I hope to
Yeah.
keep getting lead roles as I have been, but if it's a great story and a great character, what's it matter if it's a supporting role?
Yeah.
Um,
That's a great goal.
and I hope to keep working with passionate directors, whether they've been around for for decades, or if they're just starting out as their first or second feature. So yeah, just more good stuff. That's
Yeah.
what I hope for.
Yeah, and that is a great goal to hope for. To kind of go on to a little bit on that with the director's part, if you had any chance to work with any director in LA, who would you like to work with?
Oh my God. Well, I've already talked about P.T. Anderson. I would say that's probably my top choice to work with any director. But then I look at the Safdie brothers coming out of New York and the stuff that they've been doing, and I've been following them since Heaven Knows What came out at I think it was the New York Film Festival. But they have been really forging the path as sort of the Scorseses of our generation in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Um, Scorsese, obviously a master of cinema, of cinema history, one of the all-time greats.
Yes.
But they're clearly taking a page out of his book, and in terms of what is our generation's urban stories. What are the characters in the streets of New York and LA today that we can sort of pull out and turn into a narrative and to expose the sort of urban living today. And I
Yeah.
can't wait to see Uncut Gems distributed by
Yes.
A24. Yeah, I mean, that
Oh,
looks awesome, doesn't it?
I have been wanting to die to see that movie. I am all for a serious Adam Sandler, so I am just, yes, I cannot wait to see that movie. I'm right there with you. It's amazing. We got a lot of great cinematic taste, you and I'm noticing that. We both like the same directors and, got the same taste. So I think it's awesome.
All right.
Yeah,
Oh,
love it.
cool.
Huh?
We'll have to keep in touch on social media about the good stuff coming out.
Yeah, we are definitely gonna have
Yeah,
to do that because I thought I was like
yeah,
the only one over here that's like super excited to see Uncut Gems. So love it, love it, love it, love it. All right,
great.
so going on to the last question there, Mr. Lawrence. If you are involved with any future projects, any future acting projects, can you give a little dish about it to TN Sweets?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, wait, one thing that people can watch at the moment that has just been released online is Echoes of You, directed by Henry Quilici, which is just getting amazing support online, amazing support on Twitter. There's like hundreds of people tweeting about this short film that had a great run at the film festivals, but now is been released through a company called Omeletta, and you can check that out. There's a link to it on my social media. And the short film is called Echoes of You. It's about a classical pianist that teaches this young homeless boy how to play piano, and it just changes both their lives. And it's got this amazing humanitarian message behind it about compassion and empathy, and how the arts can transform someone's life no matter what circumstance they're in. And so people can check that out. And in terms of future projects, the one I was talking about, Five Families with Barry Primus, that's being developed into a feature right now. That's directed by Adam Cushman, and that's like going to be a good old gangster film, like sort of like Scorsese, like we were talking about, or the Irishman coming out. And I think Barry Primus is in The Irishman as well. So our whole team has been really excited about that. So that one's coming up. The Five Families, directed by Adam Cushman.
Oh, that sounds exciting. All of your work sounds exciting. Again, I'm going to insist one more time, TN Suites audience, make sure you follow Laurence Fuller on and keep up with his acting work. Again, I say this guy is definitely the one to watch. He's got a really great, strong theater background, and he's got an amazing film. We cannot wait to see more of what you do, Laurence. But I do want to say it's been such a pleasure to talk with you. Like I said, we both have a great taste, and it does seem that you have a clear direction of where you want to go with your acting career. And I just want to thank you for sharing all that with us today.
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me on and for giving me this time to talk about what I love. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. TN Suites audience, of course, you guys know. Again, I am your hostess with the mostest, Miss Simone Jackson, a.k.a. Miss J. You guys know we will always be back with another great episode of TN Suites. Again, I want to thank our great guest, Laurence Fuller, and make sure you guys check out his film work. Go to his social media, check out that short film, and just continue to support him because, again, he's going to be the one to watch. So you guys definitely want to make sure you guys check him out before he just becomes increasingly in demand. So definitely make sure you do that. So I definitely want to thank Laurence again for joining us. Until another great episode, you guys of TN Suites, I am Miss J. Until another great episode, you guys stay beautiful out there. We will be back soon. Have a great day, guys. Bye.